Welcome to this episode of the Clinical Podcast Series brought to you by the American Academy of Optometry Foundation. In today's episode, we will be discussing Ma et al.'s office-based vergence and anti-suppression therapy for the treatment of small to moderate angle intermittent exotropia, a randomized clinical trial. This is from the March issue of Ophthalmic and Physiological Optics. My name is Plauman, and I am joined again by Angie Chen, a diplomate in the binocular vision, perception, and pediatric optometry section of the Academy. Welcome back to the podcast, Angie.
Hello again.
Last time we had you on, we were discussing over-minus lenses for childhood intermittent exotropia, or IXT. Today, we're discussing vision therapy for IXT. So can you briefly describe, the vision therapy program that was utilized by the authors of this study?
Sure. If you look at the author list, you'll see that one of the authors is Dr. Mitch Scheiman, and he is the wizard behind the CITT study. And so the vision therapy program that's utilized in the study is really based off of the CITT trial. It's a 16-week program, and it has 4 phases, and they primarily train vergence and anti-suppression. So the anti-suppression is trained throughout the entire 4 phases. And for vergence, they start with gross convergence, then move on to fusional vergence at near, then at distance. But really, it's kind of sprinkled throughout the entire 4 phases.
Okay, so kind of our bread and butter, vergence, maybe some accommodation, anti-suppression, all in there. So what measures were they looking at in the study, and what did these kids have to be enrolled? What was their IXT kind of requirements?
Yeah, so when we work with children who have IXT, ultimately, whatever treatment we prescribe, we want to improve their control. And so the primary outcome in this study is the office control score scale. For those of you guys who are not familiar with this control scale, it's a measurement going from 0 to 5, so 0 representing best control and 5 representing worst control. And so essentially you measure the control score at both distance and near. So for distance, it's 6 meters, and at near is 33 centimeters. So that's how it was originally designed. But in this clinical trial, the distance, it was done at 5 meters. And so it's really easily done. You just watch the patient's eyes for 30 seconds, and then you want to see if there's any spontaneous tropia. If the patient's eye is out the whole time, and then that would be a constant exotropia, and that's a score of 5. If you have a patient who's got intermittent spontaneous tropia, then it will be a score of 3 or 4, depending on whether the exotropia is more or less than 50%. And for anybody who doesn't have spontaneous tropia, then we will actually dissociate the patient. So we will cover the right eye for 10 seconds, and then uncover and then see how long it takes the patient to regain alignment. And then we'll cover the left eye for 10 seconds, and then again, see how long it takes the patient to regain alignment. And whichever eye it took the patient longer to regain alignment, we will cover that one eye again. And then you get a score 2, 1, or 0, depending on how fast the patient recover the eye alignment. So that's what they used in the study. In terms of who they enroll children who are 6 to less than 18 years of age with IXT. And so in the study, they measure IXT control using the scale that I just described 3 times, and they took the mean of 3 measurement. And the mean of 3 measurement had to be 2 or worse at distance in order for the patient to be eligible to be enrolled in the trial. A spontaneous tropia was not required. But if your mean control is 2 or worse, then this patient's IC control is relatively poor, moderately poor, and so they're not enrolling anybody who's got really good control.
Right.
The distance angle, the distance angle is between 10 and 30, and that's why in the title of the paper it's mild to moderate angle, and the participants have to have measurable stereo.
Okay, so those are all the kiddos who enrolled. So the drum roll moment now is, what did the authors find at the end of the study? So the 16 weeks, right, of vision therapy?
Right. Yeah, so they brought the patient back a week after they finished the treatment. In the study, there are 2 groups, right? There's the office based vision therapy group, and then there's the observation group. And then so the children who were in the observation group, they didn't do anything. They just came back for the follow-up and then the primary outcome visit. So at 17 week, they found almost 1 whole point on the control score favoring the treatment group. So it tells us that vision therapy is an effective treatment in terms of improving control in these children. They also look at proportion of patients showing improvement by at least 1 point in each group and compare. And then they found that 75% of the participants in the treatment group, they improved by at least 1 point at the end of the 16 weeks versus in the observation group, it's only 25%.
So that could take someone, I think of a 1 point difference. You could go from being a spontaneous troper to not being spontaneously troping at all if you were a 3 to a 2. Okay.
Right.
Well, so Angie, as a pediatric optometrist, and you do vision therapy treatment with your IXT patients in your clinic, what does this study mean to you, and kind of what is the significance of these trials for the profession of optometry as a whole?
I think this study is definitely sort of a start going into the right direction. For those of us who work with children who have IXT, I think this is one of our best tool, vision therapy, to try to help these patients improve their control to a point that they don't need surgery, right? And so I think this is really a good start of the right direction. I should point out that the study was done in China. It's a single center study done in China. And so hopefully we will see more studies on vision therapy for, in childhood IXT in the United States. If we look at CITT, it brought a lot of wonder, right? And it really validates what we do when we work with patients with convergence insufficiency. And I think this is a study that convinced my ophthalmology colleagues, and I have, ophthalmology colleagues refer patients to me for vision therapy if they have convergence insufficiency. So I'm really hoping that we will see more studies on vision therapy for IXT, and then so similar to CITT, and then so that way we have stronger evidence backing up what we do in clinic.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us again today, and thank you, listeners, for joining us as well.